Every heartbeat is a clock. Every orbit, a measure. Every photon racing through the void carries time on its back like a burden it cannot shed. Time governs everything. It turns stars into dust, dust into stars, and gives meaning to the word next. Without it, there's no cause, no effect, no story. Just existence, frozen and eternal. But time is not invincible. Imagine a universe winding down like an ancient watch. Its gears slow, its springs uncoil. Motion, the very engine of time, begins to fail. Galaxies drift into darkness. Stars flicker and fade. Atoms themselves lose the energy to vibrate, their quantum dance slowing to an imperceptible tremor. The cosmos is not eternal in the way we imagined. It does not spin forever. It does not burn without end. It is dying, not quickly, not violently, but inevitably. And in that final, infinite silence, a question emerges from the void. When everything stops moving, does time die, or does it merely sleep? This is not a tale of destruction, it is a story of completion. The universe does not end in fire or violence, it ends in stillness. Perfect, absolute, eternal stillness. And with it, time exhales its last breath. The second law of thermodynamics is not a law of destruction, it is a law of inevitability. Entropy rises, always. Energy spreads, always. Order dissolves into chaos, and chaos spreads until it becomes uniformity. This is not a flaw in the universe. It is its deepest nature, its most fundamental truth. In the beginning, the universe was a furnace, dense, hot, impossibly compressed. Every particle vibrated with ferocious energy. Quarks collided in a plasma so hot that matter itself could not form. There was no stillness, only motion, only change, only the roar of creation echoing through space that had just learned to exist. But that fire is dying. Slowly, over trillions upon trillions of years, the universe cools. Galaxies drift apart, pulled by the relentless expansion of space itself. The distance between them grows. First millions of light years, then billions. Then distances so vast that light itself, traveling for eternity, could never bridge the void. Stars exhaust their fuel. One by one, they collapse into white dwarfs, neutron stars, black holes, monuments to the energy they once possessed. The last red dwarfs, those faint embers that burn for 100 trillion years, finally gutter out. The universe grows darker. Black holes devour what remains. They feast on stars, on planets, on the scattered dust of dead galaxies. But even black holes are not eternal. Stephen Hawking showed us that they evaporate, leaking radiation across eons so long that human timescales become meaningless. A black hole the mass of our Sun would take 10 to the 67th years to vanish. Supermassive black holes, those titanic beasts at galactic centers, would linger for 10 to the 100th years. But they too will fade, and when they do, only the thinnest soup of particles will remain. Electrons, positrons, photons stretched so thin by cosmic expansion that they carry almost no energy at all. Neutrinos drifting through a space so vast and empty that they may never encounter another particle again. Even protons, those stubborn building blocks of matter, are not safe. Theoretical physics suggests they decay, given enough time, 10 to the 34th years perhaps, 10 to the 40th. The exact number does not matter. What matters is this: nothing lasts forever. Not stars, not atoms, not the very particles that make us real. And even when matter itself has faded, the vacuum is not truly empty. Quantum fluctuations persist, phantom particles flickering in and out of existence, borrowing energy from nothing and returning it in the same breath. But these too grow quieter as space expands and cools. The fluctuations stretch, their frequency drops. Eventually, even the quantum foam settles into a perfect, symmetric stillness. The last faint ripples of motion dissolve into the infinite, This is not a violent end. It is a slow fade, a dimming, a cosmic old age, and as motion slows, time weakens. Because time and motion are not separate, they are twins, born together in the same instant. Motion gives time its rhythm. Change gives time its direction. Without them, time has nothing to measure, nothing to mark, nothing to prove it ever existed at all. The universe becomes like an ancient being, its pulse growing fainter with each passing eon, its breath shallow, its heartbeat slow, and eventually it stops. Time as we experience it is a direction, an arrow. It points from past to future, from order to disorder, from difference to sameness. But why? Einstein showed us that time is relative. It bends, stretches, slows depending on gravity and velocity. A second near a black hole is not the same as a second in empty space. Time is not absolute. It is not fixed. It is woven into the fabric of space-time itself, inseparable from the geometry of the universe. Yet even in relativity, time retains a direction, a flow. Clocks always tick forward, never back. Cause precedes effect. Memory records the past, never the future. That flow is entropy. Entropy is the reason we remember yesterday but not tomorrow. It is the reason eggs break but do not reassemble. It is the reason stars burn and never unburn. It is the reason ice melts in warm water and not the reverse. Time flows in the direction that entropy increases, from order to disorder, from concentrated energy to diffuse heat, from complexity to simplicity. But what happens when entropy reaches its maximum? When every photon has scattered into infinite space, when every atom rests at the same temperature, not cold, not hot, but perfectly, uniformly tepid. When energy is spread so thin, so evenly across the cosmos that no gradient remains, no difference, no imbalance, no reason for anything to happen. At that moment, the universe reaches thermodynamic equilibrium. And in equilibrium, there is no change. Particles may still exist. Space may still stretch, expanding forever into its own emptiness. But nothing moves from here to there. Nothing becomes something else. Nothing decays, nothing transforms, nothing evolves. Every moment is identical to the one before and the one after, indistinguishable, interchangeable, eternal. When there is no difference, there is no before. When nothing changes, there is no after. Time does not vanish. It dissolves. It becomes meaningless. A word without reference, a clock with no ticks, a river that has finally reached the ocean and ceased to flow. Einstein gave us the equations. Thermodynamics gave us the why. Together, they reveal the truth. Time is not a thing. It is a consequence, a shadow cast by change, a direction chosen by disorder. And when change ends, the shadow fades into the light. Imagine standing at the edge of a silent ocean. The water does not ripple, the air does not stir. There is no wind, no wave, no current. The surface stretches endlessly in every direction, perfectly flat, perfectly still. You look for the horizon, but there is no line where water meets sky. There is only sameness, only uniformity, only the quiet hum of existence without event. This is the universe at the end of time, not empty, not destroyed, but uniform. Every point in space identical to every other, every particle at rest, every photon so redshifted by expansion that it carries no energy, no information, no meaning, light without brightness, motion without movement, existence without experience. There are no clocks here, no stars to mark the hours, no decay to signal age, no events to separate one moment from the next. You cannot say now because there is no then to compare it to. You cannot say here because there is no there that differs from it. Time has not stopped. Stopping implies motion arrested, a pause before resuming, a held breath before the exhale. This is not a pause. This is the absence of the very conditions that make pausing possible. Time has dissolved. It has not been destroyed. It has simply become irrelevant, meaningless. Like asking what color silence is or what shape emptiness takes. And what remains is not death, but stasis. Not darkness, but a light so dim it borders on the edge of nothing. A universe that exists but does not live. That persists but does not continue. This is the heat-death of the universe, the final state, the equilibrium from which nothing can escape because there is no gradient to drive escape, no energy to fuel motion, no difference to create direction. But here is the strange, haunting truth. The universe still exists. Space persists, stretching forever into its own vastness. Particles persist, though they have nowhere to go and nothing to do. The fabric of reality has not torn. The laws of physics have not broken. But there is no experience, no observation, no change to distinguish one eon from the next. 1 trillion years could pass, or a single second, and nothing would mark the difference. Existence without time is like a painting without depth. It is there, but it has no story, no progression, no becoming. It simply is in the most absolute and empty sense of the word. Philosophers once asked, if a tree falls in a forest and no one hears it, does it make a sound? Here, the question transforms. If the universe exists but nothing changes, does time have meaning? The answer is no. Time was never a feature of space. It was a feature of difference, of imbalance, of motion seeking rest, of energy finding equilibrium. And now, rest has been found. Time does not scream as it dies. It does not shatter like glass or collapse like a star. It fades, softly, quietly, like breath slowing in sleep, like echoes dissolving into distance, like light dimming until you cannot tell if you still see it or merely remember seeing it. And then it is gone. We are creatures of time. Our hearts beat in rhythm, marking seconds with every pulse. Our cells divide, age, and die, writing the story of our lives in biological entropy. Our thoughts move from one moment to the next, a stream of consciousness that depends entirely on change. We remember the past because entropy allows it. Memories are records of lower entropy states, preserved in the structure of our neurons. We anticipate the future because change makes it possible, because we know that tomorrow will be different from today, and we can plan, hope, fear, dream. Without time, there would be no memory. No hope, no fear, no love that grows, no grief that fades. Every human experience is built on the foundation of change, on the knowledge that this moment, right now, will pass, that nothing lasts forever, that endings give meaning to beginnings. And yet, within each of us exists a private universe, a cosmos of consciousness where time flows differently. A memory is a small star, burning with light from years ago. A dream is a galaxy forming in the darkness of sleep. Every thought is a universe born and dying in the span of seconds. Our minds are not separate from the cosmos. They are the cosmos experiencing itself, one fleeting moment at a time. Time gives meaning to endings, to farewells, to last words and final embraces, to the knowledge that we will never stand in this exact moment again. Never see the world from this precise instant of our lives. It is because time is finite that it is precious. A sunset is beautiful because it fades. A song is moving because it ends. A life is meaningful because it is limited. If we lived forever, unchanging and eternal, what would be the point of today? Why would this moment matter if it were identical to every moment before and every moment after? And so, the death of time is also the death of meaning. Not because meaning was destroyed, but because meaning requires contrast. Light against dark. Now against then. Being against not being. We understand joy because we have known sorrow. We cherish presence because we have felt absence. In the timeless universe, there is no contrast, no difference, no distinction between experience and void. No way to say that something matters because there is no alternative in which it does not. Eternity without change is not life. It is the absence of experience. A consciousness frozen forever in a single moment would not be thinking. It would be a statue of thought, unchanging and unaware. This is the paradox of infinity. To live forever is to stop living. To exist without end is to lose the very thing that makes existence matter. And perhaps this is why the universe must die. Not as punishment, not as failure, but as completion. Everything that could happen has happened. Every configuration explored. Every possibility exhausted. Every star that could burn has burned. Every thought that could be thought has been thought somewhere by someone in some corner of the cosmos. The universe has finished its story. And when a story is complete, it does not need another chapter. It needs an ending, a moment of closure, a final word that gives everything before it shape and meaning. There is a kind of peace in endings, not the peace of escape, but the peace of arrival. The stillness that comes when a journey is done and there is nowhere left to go. When every destination has been reached, every path walked, every question answered. The universe at the end of time is not broken. It is whole, perfectly balanced. Every force reconciled, every energy dispersed, every motion resolved into rest, every asymmetry erased, every gradient flattened. It is, in a strange and final way, complete. Time does not scream as it dies. It does not shatter like glass or explode like a star. It does not fight or rage or cling to existence. It simply fades like the last note of a song held too long, dissolving into silence. Like light dimming until you cannot tell if it still glows or if your eyes are merely remembering brightness. Like breath slowing in the deepest sleep, each exhale softer than the last, until there is no next inhale. And in that silence, there is no suffering, no loss, no tragedy, only completion. We, who live in time, may mourn its passing. We may grieve for the stars that will never burn again, the thoughts that will never be thought, the moments that will never arrive. We may feel the weight of finality, the sadness of last things. But the universe does not mourn. It has no regrets, no unfinished business, no dreams deferred. It has done what it was meant to do. It has existed. It has changed. It has become. It has known motion and stillness, light and darkness, complexity and simplicity. And now, it rests. Perhaps time is not eternal. Perhaps it was never meant to be. Perhaps time is a gift given once, not to last forever, but to make forever unnecessary. A finite span in which things happen, in which stories unfold, in which meaning can exist because endings are possible. Because in the end, the universe needs nothing more than what it has already been. All motion has ceased. All change has ended. The great wheel has stopped turning. The cosmic clock has wound down to silence. And yet, the universe remains. Not in death, but in fulfillment. Not in emptiness, but in equilibrium. Not in absence, but in completion. When the universe stops moving, time falls silent. Not in death, but in completion. Not as an ending, but as a return. A coming home. A final breath released and no need to draw another. The story is told. The song is sung. And in the quiet that follows, there is peace.